Hey, hey, welcome to the wild around us. I'm Jeremy, this is Eric. Today we're diving into the world of black bears, but really just a specific part, and that is black bear hibernation. It's an amazing adaptation that really is significant throughout a bear's winter, but also their entire life from the time they're born.
So one of the things I'm sure that a lot of people are asking is, do black bears actually hibernate?
Yeah, and it's actually a really good question because black bears hibernation and mammalian hibernation, if you include the reduction of body temperature, black bears don't adhere to that rule.
Right, so they can still though go without eating, without drinking, and without going to the bathroom for the entire winter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly, Eric, which is why in 1981 there was an author, Watts, who redefined mammalian hibernation. Mm-hmm. And he redefined it in a way that doesn't include heart rate dropping and breathing rate dropping and temperature dropping, which was traditional before that, but rather as a specialized seasonal reduction in metabolism. And that runs side by side with scarce food and a dropping of the weather temperature.
Okay, that makes sense. It's almost like you're dealing with all of this hibernation, so to speak, on a spectrum for the winter. So some mammals hibernate by going into a deep sleep, like we typically think for a bat and for a woodchuck. And then there's others that are mostly active, but then they still den for short periods of time, kind of like the skunks and the raccoons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good way to think of it, since even though the new definition was created in 1981, some credible sources still say that black bears do not hibernate, and some say that they do.
Okay.
Some call it denning or lethargy or slumber or torpor. Call it what you want, though. It's somewhere along that spectrum, if you will. And like I said before, the ability to hibernate is a big part of who black bears are, and it sets the tone for their entire year. But let's actually take a step back for a moment. And Eric, what can you tell us about where we can find black bears?
So for Ursus americanus, or the bear of the Americas, they're fairly widespread throughout the North American continent. So they're found from Alaska all the way down to Mexico, and from the East Coast to the West Coast, including in Canada and in the continental United States.
Yes. Black bears can be found in a variety of habitat types too, from forests, swamps, even mountainous terrain wouldn't be unheard of. On average, their range can be anywhere from 5 to 50 square miles, and that really depends on food availability.
Yeah, and speaking of food, black bears in the fall have an appetite that's immense.
Yeah, I'd say black bears really get ready for winter the right way, because it reminds me of that time that I hiked the Presidential Range in the White Mountains here in New Hampshire, and afterwards we went to this restaurant that had a 10-egg omelet. Oh, that was really good.
Wow. Well, yeah, that's similar. Similar to that, hyperphagia is basically what black bears go through. It means excessive eating. And when a black bear starts this, their normal caloric intake is 8,000 calories a day. But when they go into the hyperphagia, they're eating 15 to 20,000 calories a day. You know, imagine doubling your food intake.
I don't have to, that 10-egg omelet. Definitely necessary though, as they won't eat again while they're in their den. And their den can be in a variety of locations, anywhere from a dugout on a rocky slope, a crevice in some rocks, or a hollow tree underneath somebody's front porch of a cabin that they don't use in the wintertime, or even, for Bruins, open portions of the forest floor.
On average, females are going to enter their dens earlier than the males will go into their dens. the sows or females will enter around mid-November. And then the Bruins, as you mentioned, the males, they're going to enter usually the end of November into December.
And this is actually when their metabolic rates start to drop, right? You have heart rate lowering, blood vessels constricting, they suppress shivering to conserve energy, their breathing and oxygen consumption lowers, and they also don't defecate or urinate while they're in the den.
And then their temperature stays warmer than animals that are further along on that hibernating spectrum.
Otherwise, having the cub in January or February would be pretty difficult. And there's actually more to it than that, though. Mating season for black bears is all the way back in summer. And throughout the fall, the embryo actually doesn't attach until they're in hibernation. So the growth of that embryo is delayed. And this means that the body of the sow can figure out, okay, did I get enough food in the fall during that hyperphagia phase? And did I get enough food to grow the cub and have the mother survive also?
Wow.
Yeah.
That is why the cub weighs such a small amount, less than a pound, 12 ounces at birth. But they grow pretty quickly because in spring when they're coming out of the den, they're 4 to 10 pounds.
So the sow will also stay in the den a little bit longer, which means spring has had more of an opportunity to get rolling. Warmer temperatures, more food availability, all which benefits that sow and cub as they're coming out of the den. So their focus on that food is strictly with weight gain and not, keeping their body temperature warmer.
Okay, so let's put all this together then. So we've got mating season occurring in the summer. During the fall, they're doubling their food intake to gain weight. They're going to sleep most of the winter. And as long as the female has eaten enough food in the fall, she's going to have a delayed implantation of the embryo that's going to occur during her time in the den. She's going to give birth and feed the cub during that time. But again, because of that temperature being somewhat warmer than it would be for like a woodchuck or a bat, that's going to be enough to keep the cub and her warm during that time frame. Then the cub's going to grow from about 12 ounces to 4 to 10 pounds by the time they emerge from the den. Meanwhile, the male has come out of the den separate from the females, and he's roaming his territory for establishing a range so that other males know, hey, this is mine for mating, but he's also eating and gaining weight. And then the female is going to come out later in the spring when things are warmer with the cub to begin to feed all over again.
That is quite the puzzle.
Wow, it sure is.
As you're out and about exploring the snow this winter, think about all the things that are below you and underneath the ground. And thanks so much for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And also, don't forget to do the important thing and get out and explore the wild around you.
And thanks for joining us.